As a filmmaker, a question I think about a lot is, how do you begin a movie? There's the popular quote from Martin Scorsese that you've probably heard before. Cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out. Basically, a filmmaker makes choices in every moment of what to show the audience and what not to. So what do you show them first? With an infinite number of possibilities, what first impression do you want to make? I'm somewhat partial to what I'm going to call the mission statement opening. You know, the one that's like a short sequence, usually about 5 minutes long, that grabs the audience's attention and announces exactly what the movie is going to be. So think of Trainspotting, Jaws, Goodfellas, or Scream. Each of these opening scenes work as miniature versions of the films that follow. One of my favorite examples of this type of opening is from The Matrix, written and directed by Lana and Lily Wachowski. Almost like a James Bond movie, it begins with a cold open action sequence before the real story starts. But unlike a Bond movie, where the opening is usually just some fun action unrelated to the main story, The Matrix is more ambitious. It's common practice for sci-fi films that require a lot of world building to begin with some sort of opening monologue or text to bring us up to speed. You've seen this in Star Wars, Blade Runner, Dune, Dark City, The Road Warrior, Serenity, Oblivion, Pacific Rim, Terminator 2, Looper, and plenty more. The Matrix takes the opposite approach. Instead of explaining its mythology and history to us up front, it treats them as a mystery that's slowly revealed in the film's first half. The opening scene unfolds like a puzzle, revealing new elements and clues and preparing us for what's to come. For most of us, it's hard to imagine a time when we weren't intimately familiar with every aspect of The Matrix. But try to forget what you know and look at this sequence with fresh eyes. I want to take a close look at what makes this such an effective opening. The first voices we hear are two unnamed people speaking cryptically.
You like watching him? Don't be ridiculous.
Mentioning someone who might be the one, that they're watching him and are going to kill him. Then, as the camera moves through a bunch of computer code into a tangible world, the first thing we actually see is this guy, a police officer. And the first real character we meet is the lieutenant, who makes the goofy "Juris my diction" joke.
You give me that Juris my diction crap.
He's an archetypal older police officer, experienced, kinda casually sexist.
I think we can handle one little girl.
But compared to the weird, super serious agents who wear sunglasses in the middle of the night, we like him. By 1999, decades of movies and TV had taught us that cops were generally the good guys. So even if we don't know what's happening, we assume we're on their side. The cops are all here to arrest this weirdly dressed pale woman, who we can infer was probably one of the people on that phone call. And the way the first few minutes are coded, all signs point to her being a bad guy. Especially when we hear this line.
No, Lieutenant, your men are already dead.
So wait, this woman is about to murder a bunch of cops just doing their jobs? Yup. And yet, right away, we start rooting for her. Not because of anything she does, but because of a really simple thing. We see her face. While the cops are shown mostly in darkness and in quick shots, Trinity gets a big, well-lit close-up. And because of how we're wired, looking at her face and into her eyes,
Those big, pretty eyes.
we can't help but empathize with her. Also, it has to be said that even if she's murdering cops, this is cool as hell. But the most interesting thing about this opening is the way it employs different styles and genres. The whole scene exists in the visual landscape of classic noir, subconsciously setting us up for the murky morality of the scene. Instead of the cops being the protagonists, it's Trinity, the one who murders them all in cold blood. While many of the movie's major inspirations are present here, like the Hong Kong action films of John Woo, superhero comics, and anime, most of the visual references lean in a very specific direction. There's the general visual style of late 1940s noir films, particularly those with a heavy influence of German expressionism, with the chiaroscuro lighting, straight vertical lines, and exaggerated shadows. This split diopter shot is straight out of a Brian De Palma film. And of course, this part is a direct riff on Hitchcock's Vertigo. Even with its crazy visual effects and Trinity's shiny leather rave club outfit, this whole scene is taking place within the world of a dark psychological thriller. We don't realize it because we're caught up in the action, but the movie is priming us for the mystery that's going to drive the first act of the story. The look of the agents does this as well. They're clearly modeled on the classic Men in Black archetype. We associate these types of guys with shadowy government agencies covering up alien arrivals, so their presence adds overtones of conspiracies and paranoia, as well as hinting at the sci-fi elements that will arrive later. Like Star Wars 20 years earlier, we see styles and tropes we recognize, but reconfigured and combined in a way that creates something brand new. On a narrative level, this scene tells a self-contained story. We meet Trinity, she's chased, she escapes. But as we watch, a growing list of questions forms in our mind. Who are these people watching and planning to kill? Who is Trinity? Why are they trying to arrest her? How does she have superpowers? Who is Morpheus? Who are these agents? How do they have superpowers? How did she escape in the phone booth? Oh, and what is the Matrix anyway? So by the end of the scene, at 6 minutes and 30 seconds into the movie, we have pretty much no idea what's actually going on, but we're hooked. And we've got a whole bunch of questions we want answers to. Immediately after the scene, the movie introduces us to Neo, our point of view character. And now we're more invested in his story because he's actively trying to find answers to the exact same questions that we have. The great trick of this scene is that without telling the audience anything concrete about the story, it announces exactly what the movie is going to be like. It gives a taste of the style and tone and the insane action, raises questions that will all be answered, and shows us something that, at that point, we'd never seen before. If the point of an opening scene is to get the audience's attention, then I think this is a success. At the end of the scene, the agents have a few lines that set up what's going to happen next, and then we dive into this cool transition that I already made a video about. So I'm just gonna end this here. Hey guys, thank you for watching. As you can see, due to huge demand, I made the second Matrix video essay. I could honestly talk about this movie forever. Usually there's just one video essay per month, but for this month or so, due to some scheduling stuff and me being out of town a bunch, there'll be a bit more non-fiction content than usual, and then this summer, expect way more action-packed narrative shorts, including, finally, the winning entry for the 50,000 subscriber contest, which seems like an eternity ago because we're at 80,000 now. So anyway, if you're digging these videos and you want to support us so we can keep on making them bigger and cooler than ever, please check out the Patreon. If you want to get updates on what we're working on and yell mean things at me on the internet, please don't. Check out the social media links. I'm gonna go to sleep now, and I'll see you next Wednesday.